Hey guys, Wandering Beast here, and I'm excited to bring you a product I've been testing since the summertime. I got this in the middle of wildland fire season, didn't get a chance to properly test it. If you're just finding this review through your Google searches, I love to thoroughly test my products. I'm not much of an open box reviewer. So when fire season picked up and I didn't get a chance to properly test this, I've been testing it through the fall and winter. We just got back from a big winter adventure in November in Eastern Oregon, overland trip if you want to call it that, where we use this thing extensively. We'll go over some of the features and things like that, but the biggest thing is, listen, it is dead silent out here. The proper name, I guess, for these is a solar generator, and we'll talk about kind of its features, but you can hook solar up to this to keep it charged. You can charge it through your car, or you can charge it in your house. But this thing can power your devices for a very long time without the need to run a generator. Now, this unit here is only a 500 watt hour battery and a 300 watt inverter. And what that basically means is about 90% of what you need to power out of your van, your truck, anything like that is going to be handled by this. This has been a game changer for a lot of things that I wanted to bring with us on our adventures that I just didn't have the ability to do. I for a while had a non-pure sine wave inverter, so I could use it for some things. It was a 2,000 watt inverter, but I can't hook up an induction cooker. I can't even plug in my laptops because it's very dirty power and it's not good for your electronics. Now with this being only 300 watt inverter, 450 peak, this isn't going to run any induction cooktops. But for your laptops, I've charged DeWalt batteries, all my drone batteries, cameras, everything I could think of, I've been able to do with this product, and it's absolutely fantastic in a great size. I really don't see the need to go to a larger unit, even just from, unless you're going to be boondocked in one spot, and even then, with a good solar panel, you can keep this thing charged pretty well. The only downsides I'll tell you right now before you dive into my whole review is has all been solved. They recently, since I've had this unit, been testing it, they came out with an AC50S. And that's the model I would recommend because the only little niggles on this unit have been fixed with that S model. Let's talk about it and take a closer look. All right, guys, looking at the front of the unit here, you can see the sort of durable rubberized, bumper corners. This is interchangeable. So if you're not a fan of the orange, you can order a couple different colors for them. But I found this, nice. It's been rolling around the adventure bus all over from the summer, the fall, the winter adventures, and it's done great. Haven't had any issues. I don't mind the orange, so I didn't change it out. The screen on this is pretty basic, but it tells you everything you need. Power button right here lets you know in 20% increments what you're doing. It's got a great screen to tell you how many watts you're actually pulling, how many AC and DC watts you've got coming in or out of the unit. You can turn on the DC and the AC separately, which is nice if you're not going to use the AC ports. I'll tell you right now, primarily what I used this for was charging our kids' Chromebooks on our trip so they could maintain their remote distance learning. And as well as I believe I used my DeWalt charger because I don't have a DC version for that, and I will get it in a second, but I end up having to use the AC wall plug-in for our mattress air inflator. So running this way for DC, you've got some barrel plugs here. These are 3 amp 12 volt. They are non-regulated, just like the cigarette lighter, unless you go up to the 50S. And what that means is as your battery here gets lower, it is going to lower the voltage. And I did have some stuff that would not work in the cigarette lighter because the voltage was too low, and that's unfortunate. But as I said, they fixed that with the 50S. So definitely pick up the 50S model. That'll make sure that you maintain, 13 volts out of this no matter what your battery level is looking like. This right here, as I mentioned, one of the things I couldn't get to run, it kept tripping the 10 amp service, which is probably the pump and not the Blue Yeti unit. But my air inflator mattress, when we took on our trip, I brought the car version because I figured that's the easiest thing. It's what I always bring. And it kept tripping this 10 amp. Now, the nice thing about this screen is when it errors out, if you over voltage or under voltage or anything happens, it'll give you an error message. And then you simply cycle it off and cycle it back on, and that will re-trip. So you don't have to wait for anything. If you have an issue with an appliance, it's easy to solve and easy to see what you've got going on. But I could not get that to run without tripping in that cigarette lighter. So I end up having to use the AC unit. Now down here, also on the DC out, these are going to be your USB. They are 3 amp. They are not quick charging. However, a quick run around, I'll put in here, but all you got to do is pick up a barrel plug for the cigarette lighter like you use in your car already that has the higher amperage and voltage output, and you can run that up there. It does have the power demand, the 45 watt for some of the new laptops and things of that nature that are running those. The last thing that runs off of DC that is actually pretty cool and exciting, and we use this thing a ton, you can see by how well and how worn the label is here, it will actually remote charge, wirelessly charge your devices right on top. And so I use that a ton, where I would just set it on top of this device and let it charge while I was doing other things without having to dig out a cable, without people tripping or pulling on cables or having a spaghetti of things on the front. You just put your device on top and you're done, and it's charging. And as long as you have the DC turned on, it will charge at about 6 watts worth. So you can get a lot of cell phone charges out of this one little device. All right, running over the side, you can kind of see it in there. There's kind of a little computer fan. This really only kicked on for me when I was charging it. It will provide you with a 90 watt AC house adapter to charge this battery. And this is about the only time I've heard the fan kick in like that. Was pretty much charging this device. Now rolling around to the back, it's got a big input plug. So it does come with the MC4 adapters if you want to run a solar input or a DC. Your car charger will charge this. It will take a good long time to charge it by your car, but it will do it. So if you only deplete it part way, you can get this thing topped up. And I will tell you this, the most exciting piece about this little guy is the light. If you look at some of their competitors on the market, all the other products have some sort of small little flashlight, and you are not going to be lugging around this thing and using it as a portable flashlight. What you need is an area light, a lantern, and we use this thing a ton on our trip through Eastern Oregon. I'll put some shots as I talk here. But not only do we have, high and a low, you've got SOS. So if you need to throw this out in your rig, if you've got some emergency problems on the side of the road, this thing's will get you through. But it's big enough to even light up to change a tire. We used it around the campfire so people weren't tripping over some of the firewood and things of that nature. We used it in the bus a ton when the weather and the wind was howling. We took our trip and it was freezing out. Middle of winter, Eastern Oregon trip. And so in order to cook and get things going without turning on the lights in the bus, we use this thing a ton just to bounce a little bit of wall light in for some ambiance so that you could see what was going on in the bus. A terrific product, and probably one of the better features that I've seen in any sort of solar generator on the market. Hey guys, well that covers the features and what this thing offers and a little bit of the backstory of how I've been using it. This is not going to be the kind of nerd out test that you can get on some other YouTube channels. This is real world adventure. This thing has survived. It's got battle scars. It shows it, and it's come through on the other side. So it gets my thumbs up. Like I said, Maxoak as a company has been great to work with. Any problems I've had, they've solved them or they've told me how to solve them. Like I mentioned before, the AC50S has solved all my issues that couldn't be solved with this unit. So I think that's great that they're constantly striving and coming out with new products. Now, go check out the links down below or their website, but they've got larger units. If you guys want to run your entire van or bus or truck project off of one of these, they've got a unit that can do that. As well as they've got a smaller unit coming out. It's a 30 instead of a 50. I believe it's a 300 watt hour inverter like this one is. However, it's only 300 watt hour battery. So a little bit smaller battery, a little bit less capacity. I think this size is absolutely perfect. I either charged it up before my adventures and it lasted through my weekend, or I would just auxiliary trickle charge it with the DC on here. The only thing I didn't utilize is the MPPT controller. I don't have any good solar panels that's really going to put this to the test. So I've got some hard panels coming for the top of the Adventure bus, and I may look into Maxoaks. They've got some great foldables. There's other companies that have some good 100 watt panels out there and good bright sunlight. Even putting a couple panels together in series or parallel, depending on the voltage of what they are, you can get this thing charging at over 100 watts. So in 3 to 4 hours, you could have this thing charged from just the sunshine. So it's got some really cool potential in it. It's a really cool company, and it survived everything I could throw at it. So I don't know, put your comments, questions down below, guys. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you down the road.